Penelope versus Clytemnestra. This seems to be the comparison that has stood the test of time. And one thing I want to use this video for is to say, we are absolutely supposed to compare and contrast Penelope and Clytemnestra, because both of them exist on completely opposite ends of the spectrum in Homer's Odyssey in particular, and they are used as a comparison to one another. If we did not have Clytemnestra, we would not appreciate Penelope. If we did not have Penelope, we would not be completely startled by Clytemnestra. If all women were like Clytemnestra, then the stories would be completely different, and if all women were like Penelope's, then the stories would be completely different. These two women bookend the Odyssey, right? So on one end, when we first open the Odyssey, we hear of Clytemnestra, and at the end, we have the reunion between Odysseus and Penelope. So when it comes to Clytemnestra, we open the Odyssey with the story of how Clytemnestra killed Agamemnon, her husband, and how Orestes then came to kill her. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. I've discussed this whole saga on this channel like a bunch of times because it is such a vital story. People love this story in the ancient world. But the long and short of it is that Agamemnon is at Troy for 10 years, doing his little fighting thing. People don't really like him there. People don't really like Agamemnon a lot. This is in the ancient sources, not in the modern sources. We're ignoring those. In the ancient sources, they don't really like him. He ends up coming home regardless. Okay, he lives through the war, comes home to Mycenae, is like, hi honey, I'm home. As it turns out, his wife, Clytemnestra, has shacked up with his cousin, and the pair of them have plotted to kill him. Now, Agamemnon is the king of Mycenae, so he's going home to, reinstate his position in Mycenae, and instead, he comes home to be murdered. He's hacked to death in the tub, if you if you are looking at Aeschylus as a source. But that happens. Okay, he comes home, the incident takes place, and word gets back to Orestes, who is Agamemnon's son. Now, something that would have been very normal in the ancient world, I want to stress this. Something that would have been incredibly normal is that we would have had this idea of avenging people's deaths. And so when Orestes comes back and he sees that Agamemnon's been killed, he's like, I must avenge my dad. The idea that the person who he has to kill in order to avenge his father is his mother is but a minor inconvenience to this man. This is how the Odyssey opens. It opens with the hot gossip. And anytime that Homer thinks that we are going to forget this, he reminds us, because it is a big deal. We are supposed to know that Clytemnestra is the worst of the worst. To be fair, the only mention that we get of her in the Iliad is when Agamemnon says, I really want to have this particular slave woman because I like her more than my wife. And what I always say is that no one asked you, Agamemnon. No one asked if you liked her more than your wife. The long and short of it is that we know that there are marital problems between the pair. And that's putting it lightly. And then when it comes to Penelope, we have a completely different character who, at the other end of the spectrum, after 20 years, not 10 years, like Clytemnestra was not faithful for 10 years. Penelope was faithful for 20, so for double. Now, before people are gonna immediately go to the comment section and say, whoa, Erica, you forgot one part of the story of why she was disloyal because he murdered their daughter. Here's an interesting fact that you guys probably don't know. Iphigenia is alive in the Iliad. Yeah, so we don't actually know why Clytemnestra is so mad in the Iliad. We don't know why she hates Agamemnon so much. So the Iphigenia thing is sometimes there and sometimes isn't. That's not the point of this video, but I do always want to highlight that because I think it's really interesting. My point is, Clytemnestra is disloyal, she is unfaithful for 10 years, and Penelope is faithful for double that, right? So she is double as good. Not only that, but Clytemnestra is constantly described with masculine words, which really amplifies that she is a very masculine woman. She takes on much more of a masculine role in the mythology. She is a great character, but she is not a good wife because she murders her husband and she is not feminine enough. I fucking hate that I just said that. That is so icky. But again, within the context, it's important. Whereas we see Penelope doing a lot of feminine activities. The main one that we see her do is weaving. She is weaving the entirety of the Odyssey. We know that she's been weaving for the majority of the time that these suitors have been there in order to avoid them. Clytemnestra is meanwhile chatting up Aegisthus. Oh my god, she's such an icon. But she meanwhile is chatting up Aegisthus, whereas Penelope is just at her little loom and she's just getting her shit done and she's talking to her handmaidens and she's making sure that everybody's comfortable in her home. Clytemnestra has made sure that one man is very comfortable in her home. So basically the whole point of this is that I'm trying to say you're supposed to compare and contrast these characters. Do it. If we don't have differences in these narratives, and if we don't have different types of women being amplified, then they're all gonna be boring. They were boring to the ancients, they are boring to us now. How many times have you complained about female characters being the last thing that's been thought of, that they're just there as an accessory to men? A lot of these female characters are not. Penelope is a queen in her own right. She has her own personality. She is ruling a kingdom. She has literally made sure that everything is running smoothly whilst maintaining who she is. She doesn't have to change who she is. Equally, so does Clytemnestra, but in a completely different way. She runs Mycenae like a king would. Clytemnestra is there for the throne. Both of them are valid, both of them are great characters. There's no one is better than the other. They both need each other, because if only one of them existed in the story, we would read them completely differently. And so therefore, having them on either ends of the narrative help us to appreciate them separately, but also help us to see why they are such good characters, why they are needed for the narrative, and what it is that both of them actually represent in their characterizations.